Poland is pushing for revolutions and Russian tanks are rolling across Belarus, while the president of Belarus, Mr. Alexander Lukashenko, suggests drinking vodka to prevent contracting the coronavirus that he also claimed doesn't exist. Welcome to Stop Fake, the place where we dissect fakes about Ukraine and a little more. So let's get to it. Back in July, against the backdrop of mass protests that swept across Belarus after Alexander Lukashenko claimed an overwhelming victory in the August 9 presidential elections, fakes alleging that EU countries were involved in the civil unrest began circulating on social media. Polish leaders in particular are being accused of organizing a coup in Belarus and openly advocating for Lukashenko's overthrow. But the protests in Belarus have nothing to do with Poland or any other EU country. They are a reaction to a rigged presidential election and a demonstration by the people of Belarus's discontent with Lukashenko's repressive politics of 26 years. Fake reports about Poland allegedly preparing a coup in Belarus began appearing after the presidents of Lithuania and Poland issued a statement calling on Belarusian authorities to respect democratic standards and end violence and repressions directed at peaceful protests. On August the 10th, Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki called for an emergency EU summit. Morawiecki wrote to European Council President Charles Michel and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, in which he said, quote, "Violence all across Belarus and potential escalation of the political conflict that may very likely ensue is a crisis that must not remain unanswered. Yesterday's election, its officially announced contradictory results and public reaction thereto are clear proof that many Belarusians want change, that they want dignity, respect for human rights, democracy, freedom of speech, rule of law, and that they want the European Union to be present in their lives." The EU responded to Morawiecki's request and on August the 14th scheduled a special conference to discuss the situation in Belarus. Warsaw then announced its readiness to take on the role of mediator in negotiations between Lukashenko and the Belarusian opposition. Polish Foreign Minister Jacek Czaputowicz said that Poland has experience in such situations, referring to the negotiations between the communist government and Poland's opposition in 1989, which eventually led to the re-establishment of democracy in the country. Poland did not put forth any threats or try to organize a coup in Belarus. Warsaw merely offered its assistance in resolving the conflict. The protests in Belarus have been going on since August the 9th. To disperse the protesters, security forces have unleashed violence, used rubber bullets, tear gas, batons, tasers, and water cannons, and mass arrests. On election day, the center of the Belarusian capital, Minsk, was blocked by security forces, communications and the internet were jammed in the city. International election observers were not allowed into Belarus, and voters' access to polling was restricted, while independent journalists and activists were massively detained during the poll. Leaders of European countries, the EU leadership, and the US administration have called on Alexander Lukashenko to end the violence against his own citizens and publish the real results of the election. As the protests in Belarus intensified, fakes about the unfolding events began spreading on social media, as expected. One Facebook account in particular began circulating a photo with tanks and other military hardware, claiming the picture showed Russia transferring troops to the Belarus border through the city of Smolensk, some 369 kilometers west of Moscow. The photo is purported to have been taken on August the 10th, 2020. But in fact, the picture is from 2017. It was taken during a military parade in honor of Victory Day in the Russian city of Nizhny Tagil in the Ural Mountains region. The photograph shows a Russian T-72 tank and an armored personnel carrier traveling in a convoy with other military equipment. The photo appears to have been taken in a city. It features electric poles and part of a trolley bus overhead and overhead wires. The bare trees indicate that the picture was taken either during early spring or winter. Skeptical comments as to the veracity of the photo are being dismissed, and the person who posted the photo claims that it is genuine. Using reverse imaging software, StopFake found the original source of the photograph. The image published in a Facebook post is a cropped screenshot from a video of a Victory Day military parade held in Nizhny Tagil, Russia, on May the 9th, 2017. The tank in the photo is clearly visible from the 14-second point in the video. The person who recorded the video even comments on the weather. It's either snow with rain or rain with snow. Other photos featuring this very same tank from that day can be found online. On August the 7th, just 2 days before the Belarus presidential election, the state news agency Belta quoted President Alexander Lukashenko's claim that he had never downplayed the threat of the COVID-19 pandemic. Lukashenko said, quote, "We have never denied that coronavirus existed. This is the way mass media has presented it. How can we deny what is really here?" But our colleagues at polygraph.info have shown that he has been denying it all along. While he detained his political opponents and systemically cracked down on protesters leading up to the presidential elections, he also publicly downplayed the threat of COVID-19 multiple times. For example, back in March, as the pandemic was unfolding globally, Lukashenko openly dismissed the threat as a quote-unquote psychosis and advised his government ministers to stay safe by drinking small amounts of vodka and visiting saunas. The Belarus authorities did not impose a lockdown and allowed large public gatherings like sports events to continue while most other countries issued strict lockdowns. During a ringside interview while he was playing ice hockey, when asked if he was worried about catching the virus, Lukashenko said, "Me? Why? I don't understand. Here there aren't any viruses." Then, in late July, Lukashenko suddenly declared he had caught the virus, but said doctors found him to be asymptomatic. However, he did postpone his annual State of the Nation address that was scheduled for August the 3rd. That's it for this week. Always be on the lookout for fakes. And remember, washing your hands and social distancing will protect you from the coronavirus. But more importantly, critical thinking will protect you from Russian disinformation. And if you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, forward it to us for a truth autopsy. I'm Marko Suprun, and this is StopFake. Thanks for watching.